Nippon Paint Medifresh, a powerful combination of zinc, iron and silver.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe actively engaged in a pivotal business roundtable on Sri Lanka's economic revival and opportunities for Japanese enterprise, where he presented the nation's commitment to stabilising and liberalising the economy while actively inviting new foreign ventures. The event, jointly organised by JETRO, Japan-Sri Lanka Business Cooperation, and the Embassy of Sri Lanka in Japan, aimed to strengthen economic ties between the two nations. During the roundtable, President Wickremesinghe fervently outlined the ongoing efforts undertaken by Sri Lanka to restore stability and openness to its economy, presenting an inviting climate for foreign investment. With a clear vision to attract Japanese enterprise, he discussed the various measures and reforms being implemented to create a conducive business environment for potential investors. Recognizing Japan's significance as a vital economic partner, President Wickremesinghe emphasized the mutual benefits that can be derived from increased collaboration between the two nations. Sri Lanka's strategic location and skilled workforce were highlighted as key advantages, providing a gateway for Japanese companies to expand their operations in the region and leverage the country's emerging economic opportunities. As Sri Lanka continues its journey toward economic revival, President Wickremesinghe's active participation in the roundtable underscores the government's unwavering commitment to attracting foreign investment and driving sustainable economic progress.
I hope that this business roundtable will be an opportunity to exchange meaningful opinions on the future business environment in Sri Lanka through dialogue with the companies here today. Last year, Japan and Sri Lanka celebrated the 17th anniversary of the establishment of development relations. We will never forget the support that Japan received from former President, His Excellency Jawahar as it returned to the international community after World War II. The Japan-Sri Lanka Business Cooperation Committee will continue to serve as a bridge for economic exchange between our two countries and contribute to social and economic development in Sri Lanka.
34 years ago, just a day after my arrival in Tokyo to start work at the Sri Lanka Embassy in my first diplomatic assignment, I attended an event co-organized by JETRO, accompanying a special person. He was then the newly appointed Minister of Industry of Sri Lanka. Today, so many years later, it is my absolute privilege to walk into this hall as the ambassador of Sri Lanka with that person who is now the President of Sri Lanka. Honorable Wickremesinghe took office last July at a time Sri Lanka was in an economic meltdown. In his initial official address, he remarked that the finalization of the debt restructuring plan has commenced. We would submit this plan to the International Monetary Fund in the near future and negotiate with the countries who provided loan assistance. Subsequently, negotiations with private creditors would also begin to arrive at a consensus. It is not too often that political pronouncements are realized in a timely manner. As a Sri Lankan, I'm pleased to mention that this work plan has been carried out within months, with Japan continuing to play a decisive role in the process. Measures adopted by Sri Lanka are not much different to how post-war Japan managed spiraling inflation through taxation and a tight monetary and fiscal policy to bring economic stabilization and rapid growth in the aftermath.
I came here last year in the midst of the worst crisis that Sri Lanka had faced. As was mentioned here, the collapse of our economy due to many reasons, COVID, and a reduction of taxes, which brought down revenue. And apparently, from what I know, this lesson has never been learned by others, because 1 year later, Prime Minister Liz Truss did the same thing in UK. So it seems to be going on and on. We actually should charge copyright from UK for copying us. Then there was the attempt, the measures that were taken to stop the import of fertilizer because we had no foreign exchange to import fertilizer. The refusal to go to IMF. So it's natural that this crash had to occur. And that's why when I became president, I said my first job is to go back to the IMF. But going back to the IMF is not sufficient. I needed someone to help me. So our good friend Japan is where I came to. I spoke to Prime Minister Kishida and of course your finance minister, and that was the beginning that we knew we could go ahead. So first I have to say thank you to Japan for all that has happened. Sri Lanka would not have been able to resolve this question in such a short time if not for the Japanese assistance. So now we've taken many of the steps that are necessary, as was mentioned here. We've already have agreed with IMF on the EEF, and now we are waiting the discussions that are taking place at the creditor meetings. We've had the Paris Club. India, that was outside the Paris Club, has come in for the negotiations with the Paris Club. China has now agreed to attend as an observer. We had asked them to come into the platform, but nevertheless they are attend as observer and they are having bilateral meetings with the IMF. So I think that that is a good situation to start with, though we would have preferred everyone being together. And we are going ahead. As far as I am concerned, there is no turning back. Firstly, we have to go through this pain to ensure that economy is back on track. So debt restructuring is necessary. I appointed a committee for economic stabilization, and my advisor, who the chairman is also here, and he will answer some of the detailed questions that you would wish to raise. When this happened, a lot of people in Sri Lanka said, we have no future. The country is gone. How are we going to go up again? I said, why are you so glum? They said, why? We have no future. I said, why are you so pessimistic? If you want, take the example of Japan, virtually wiped out after the war with 2 atom bombs. I said, in that case, Japan should have never recovered. Japan came up as a new country. It has one of the strongest economies, the strongest in Asia. So I said, copy Japan, that's all. And go work. It didn't come out of, it came out of hard work, commitment. Nothing comes easy. So this is what we have now, I've told the country. It was a great tragedy for Sri Lanka. It was a big setback. But the measures we are taking to stabilize the economy also gives hope to Sri Lanka. Because my idea is not merely to stabilize the economy, but also to restructure the economy, to further liberalize the economy and make it a growth-oriented economy. So those measures have now been taken and a final report is being prepared on economic stabilization and growth, which will be submitted to the cabinet in the coming few weeks. What do we have? Sri Lanka has to understand, and now that they have, that we have to go along with the world economy. The principles of the global economy applies to us. We are not exempt from it. And the first is to win the confidence of investors so that the people have a future. To do so, our first step is in regard to Japan. From time to time, Japan has been generous and helped us. When Prime Minister Abe was in power, I negotiated with him for certain number of projects, the LRT being the most famous, the Central Expressway, Section 3, the FAR-SU, and of course the East Terminal in the port of Colombo. All these were cancelled. LRT was cancelled without the cabinet being informed, just by one official. The damage was done. Confidence was lost. So what are we doing now? The cabinet agreed that we can't allow this to happen again under any government. So we are bringing in laws which will ensure that once an agreement is signed, a mega project agreement is signed, it has to be tabled in Parliament, annual reports given on the implementation to Parliament, and it cannot be changed or altered without the consent of all the parties involved. So that will ensure that no government can take arbitrary decision on the basis of a report given by a few individuals. Then in regard for the private investments, we do have investment treaties which are guaranteed by the Constitution, but I will bring some more laws to give further effect to those investment guarantees. We are looking at the whole procedure in Sri Lanka, and the debureaucratization that is going on now will ensure a lot of the rules are removed and investment proposals, the decision is taken within a given time frame. We have had Board of Investments and an Export Development Board. I am doing away with all that and bringing one single Economic Development Commission, which will be the sole authority on making decisions, and the law will prescribe certain periods within which such discussions are made. So I am absorbing export development and investment promotion to one agency. The BOI has one strength. It runs the best industrial estates, the best investment zones in South Asia. So we separate that into an investment infrastructure corporation, where the new investment zones, whether it be for manufacturing, tourism, technology, will be started under separate companies, can be private, it can be government, or it can be a public-private partnership. All the laws and regulations which have hindered the development of business is being identified for removal. But what we want and what we are aiming for is further liberalization. The further liberalization to take place. How am I going to ensure it? You will ask. How are you going to ensure it? You will be out in a few years' time, if not next year. Then what happens? Does it go back? So we have decided, and I told Parliament that I want Sri Lanka to enter the RCEP. With RCEP, a round of liberalization has to take place. We have to become more competitive. And then I said we will also agree at that time that within a given time frame, a medium-term time frame, we will enter become a member of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So that is there, the comprehensive and the progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership. So that's the second one. So with that, I think we've set two benchmarks as far as liberalizing the economy is concerned. When that is passed into law, then we have to gradually make the economy more competitive and to stronger. This is what I want to do. We are a small island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Then we haven't got the large markets, but we are areas in which we can specialize and we can aim at the larger market. We all think India is the biggest market. India is a big market that Sri Lanka has to enter. But the biggest market for us is going to be the RCEP. That is the largest market. So we are looking at a four-market policy. That is, we have the Indian market, we have the RCEP, we have the comprehensive, progressive and the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and we already have agreement with the European Union. We will further deepen it. It's under this system that we work. Sri Lanka's strength, I think, is we have to think anew. See what are the low-hanging fruits. First is agricultural modernization. Sri Lanka's agriculture has not undergone any modernization for the last 20 to 25 years. For instance, when I was Prime Minister in 2001, Sri Lanka became self-sufficient in rice. At that time, we had 3.5 metric tons a hectare. In the given 20 years, it has only gone up to 4 metric tons. But in some of the plots that we have gone up to 11 metric tons a hectare. An average of 8 metric tons a hectare would make a big difference and release more land for other cultivations. Similarly with tea, there have been so new areas to be cultivated. We are hoping to bring about 170,000 hectares in the eastern province of Sri Lanka. There's other land that we want to identify and ensure we maximize it for agriculture. So that's one area. Sri Lanka, if you look at the developments that's going to take place in India, a fast-growing economy, then you will see even in the next 50 years, Pakistan, Iran, all will develop. Pakistan and Iran, Gouda and Shaba will be the Makaran coast, will be the entry-exit points for Central Asia. With all that shipping taking place and the developments that are taking place in Africa when the new ports come in, Sri Lanka to become a regional logistic hub. both the ports and the airport. For instance, in Colombo, the port and the airport are both very close by. And a new harbour in Colombo, which Subana Jurong of Singapore is planning out, a completely new harbour. So that's the possibilities we have. We are looking at leapfrogging in manufacturing other areas by going directly into what we call the Industry 4 technologies. Look at how it can be applied in manufacturing, in services. We want is the digital transformation of the economy as fast as possible. I had a discussion today with your minister in charge of how Japan and Sri Lanka will work together. Both of us have been backward in it, but we can catch up on it. A completely new higher education system in which private sector will play a leading role to train the people needed for Sri Lanka and for abroad. So we feel that there is a lot here. Tourism, yes, we have about 2.5 million that we have to catch up. We had about a little over 2.5 million in 2019, plan to go up to 5 million on the first step, but of that 2 million have to be tourists who are willing to spend $500 or more a day. So we are going to upmarket tourism, for which there are large number of proposals, which we will make it available for people who are interested in different types. Is climate change is being accelerated, the climate change proposals, implementation. As far as renewable energy is concerned, we do have, yes, we have solar power, wind energy, biomass, and the reports now, we still haven't finalized it, but will need help from the ADB or government, is that we should have something between 20 to 30 gigawatts of power for green hydrogen. And that's next to the harbors. So you can imagine the potentials that are there. As you come, this is only something I can tell you. I am not a businessman, I am a politician. You all are businessmen. You will find other opportunities there. In fact, I asked Prime Minister Kishida, now that Bangladesh and Bangalore are all coming to the northern area, why don't we also deal with the southern part of the Indian subcontinent? Tamil Nadu is the most vibrant state there, with Andhra Pradesh on one side, Telangana, Karnataka, and Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is also, if we get together, it is the most vibrant. And all we need is one bridge to connect us. And then ports of Sri Lanka will actually cater to the whole of South India. So there are many such plans. We have to join the world and go ahead. We have to look at IT, technology, health services. There are many to be done. So I just thought that of mentioning to you what we plan to do, because the world is changing and this is another opportunity Sri Lanka has, as economic power is shifting to Asia, and also we are in the Indian Ocean into East Africa, which is growing fast, and South Africa. So those are the opportunities that are available, and that we've got to grasp. And I wanted to explain this to you and answer any questions that you have to raise. Thank you.
For more latest news, subscribe to FTTV.